Welcome to the HFY Codex Tale. If you like our videos, keep supporting and subscribe to our channel. The contract that changed two lives. The room was bright and full of strange lights. Jace stood in the center, heart pounding in his chest. He was just a normal human boy, 19 years old, with messy brown hair and a nervous look in his eyes. But today, his whole life was about to change. He was not on Earth anymore. Tall, silent aliens surrounded him in a circle. Their eyes glowed blue, their skin shimmered like glass. They whispered in a language he couldn't understand. And then a voice echoed through the room. "This meeting begins under the old star law," the alien judge said. "The contract has been confirmed. The bond must be honored." Jace blinked. He still couldn't believe it. Just 2 weeks ago, he was working at a coffee shop. Then a letter arrived, sealed in gold, written in alien script. His grandfather had made a deal with an alien house long ago. A life debt, and the price was marriage. He didn't even know the alien girl's name. A heavy door slid open behind him. And then she walked in. Tall, proud, beautiful in a strange, otherworldly way. Her skin was silver blue and her long, dark hair flowed like smoke. Her eyes were sharp and cold, like she didn't care about anything or anyone. This was her, his alien bride. Her name was Zelari. She didn't smile, she didn't speak. She just walked forward slowly, stopping only when she was standing a few feet away from him. She looked him up and down like he was nothing but a science experiment. And then she smirked. "This is the human," she said, her voice smooth and sharp. "He looks fragile." The crowd laughed quietly. Jace's face turned red, but he didn't speak. What could he say? That he didn't want this. That he didn't even believe in arranged marriages, let alone alien ones. The judge raised a hand. "You both have no choice. This contract is law, signed by blood, sealed by name. The human's family owes a life, and the bond must be fulfilled." Jace's mind raced. A life for a life, that's what the papers said. His great-grandfather had been saved by Zelari's people during a forgotten war. The price was simple. One future heir must marry into the alien house. And now that heir was him. He glanced at Zelari again. Her eyes met his. But there was something strange in her gaze, not just pride, not just coldness, something else, like sadness maybe, or fear. But it disappeared in a second. "Bring the rings," the judge said. An alien priest stepped forward with a small black box. Inside were 2 glowing bands, one for each of them. The moment the rings touched skin, the bond would begin, mental, emotional, and physical. Jace reached for his fingers shook. But then, just before he touched it, Zelari spoke again. "If you're hopping for love, human," she said, "forget it. This is just a contract, nothing more." Jace paused, and then to everyone's surprise, he smiled. "Good," he said quietly, "because I don't trust you either." A hush fell over the crowd. For the first time, Zelari looked surprised. But only for a moment. The rings were placed on their fingers. A wave of heat passed through Jace's hand. His mind felt heavy, like something was reaching inside his thoughts. The bond was beginning. He looked at Zelari again, but this time she wasn't looking at him. She was looking down, at the ring at her hand. Her face was still calm, but her lips were pressed together. Almost like she wanted to say something. "The bond is complete," the judge said. "They are joined." It was done. Jace turned to leave, but before he could step away, Zelari suddenly reached out and grabbed his wrist. Her voice was soft now, almost a whisper. "Listen to me, human. Whatever you do, do not fall in love with me." He looked at her hand on his. It was warm, too warm, almost shaking. "Wasn't planning to," he said. She let go. And for a second, for just one heartbeat, she looked sad. Outside the courtroom, 2 alien guards waited to take them to their new living quarters. A shared room, as tradition demanded. Jace followed in silence. Zelari walked beside him but said nothing. The air between them was cold, but something had changed. She had touched him, and he had felt it. There was something under her skin, some pain, some secret. She was not just cold, she was hiding something. And Jace knew one thing for sure. This contract was not the end. It was only the beginning. A wedding with no smiles. The wedding hall looked like something from a dream, or maybe a nightmare. It was made of crystal walls and floating lights. The floor glowed softly beneath their feet. Alien guests stood silently, dressed in long robes and sharp armor. No music, no laughter, no joy. This was not a celebration. This was a deal being sealed. Jace stood at the center of it all, wearing a strange black uniform the aliens gave him. It itched his skin. He had never felt more out of place in his life. Zelari stood across from him in a dress that shimmered like the stars. But there was no smile on her lips, no kindness in her eyes. She looked like a statue, beautiful, cold, and far away. A voice echoed through the hall. "Begin the bonding ritual." Two priests stepped forward, holding a long silver blade between them. It looked more like a weapon than part of a wedding. Jace frowned. "What's the knife for?" he whispered. Zelari didn't answer. One of the priests stepped closer. "Cut your palm," he said to Jace. "Let your blood mix with hers. The bonding must be completed in the old way." Jace hesitated. Blood, that wasn't in the contract. But Zelari had already taken the blade. Without a word, she pressed it to her own palm and sliced. Blue liquid ran from the cut, glowing almost like light. Then she handed the knife to him. Jace took a breath. He didn't want to do this, but backing out now would mean breaking the bond and maybe starting a war. He gritted his teeth and pressed the blade to his skin. Pain. The knife burned deeper than it should have. Something was wrong. The moment his blood touched the metal, he felt dizzy. His knees weakened. The world tilted sideways. "What is this?" he mumbled. Zelari's eyes widened. "You're not supposed to react like that." He dropped the blade. His vision blurred. The glowing lights above him spun in circles. He heard voices, shouting, moving, but they felt far away. Then everything went dark. Jace woke up in a soft bed, but the walls were not familiar. He was in a different room now. Quiet, warm, alien machines beeped softly nearby. Zelari sat beside the bed, arms crossed, her face unreadable. "You almost died," she said. "That blade, it was laced with something your body couldn't handle." "You knew," he whispered. She looked away. "No, I didn't, but someone did." Silence. Jace watched her carefully. Her fingers were still wrapped in bandages. Her palm had the same glowing scar, but her shoulders were tense, her eyes softer than before. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Because they wanted me to leave you," she said. "They said if you died, we could claim the bond was never real." "And you stayed." She didn't speak. Instead, she reached into her cloak and pulled out the knife, the same silver blade. But now it was sealed in a glass box, and her hands were shaking. "This was not meant for humans," she said quietly. "Someone wanted you hurt, maybe even dead." "Your family?" Jace asked. Zelari looked at him for a long time, then nodded once. "They don't believe I need a human. They think I should bond with someone stronger, someone like them." Jace sat up slowly. "So what now?" he asked. "Now," she said, "you rest, and then we live together as bonded mates." He raised an eyebrow. "You mean in one room?" "That's tradition," she said, "and it will make them angry, which is why I agreed to it." A smile touched her lips, but only for a moment. "You enjoy making them mad." "Only when they try to control my life," she said, "or hurt someone I didn't give permission to hurt." Jace leaned back, trying to understand her. Maybe this wasn't just a contract for her anymore. Maybe something had changed. Later that night, after the hall had emptied and the guests had returned to their ships, Jace stood at the door of their new shared room. He looked at the bed, large, soft, clearly meant for two. He dropped a pillow in the middle. Zelari raised an eyebrow. "That's your line of defense?" she asked. "Until I figure you out, yes." She stared at the pillow, then at him. "Do you think I'm going to attack you?" "Honestly, I think you don't even know what you're going to do." She walked past him, laid down on one side of the bed, and pulled the cover over her shoulder. "You're smarter than you look human." And for the first time since they met, she closed her eyes and slept beside him. But Jace couldn't sleep. Not because of the room. Not because of the strange lights on the ceiling. But because of what he saw in her eyes, just before she turned away. Fear. Not of him, but of herself. And he wondered, what was she hiding? two strangers in one room. The room was quiet, too quiet. Jace sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the glowing walls. Alien patterns moved like waves across the surface, soft blue light shifting like breathing. Behind him, Zelari was silent. She was awake, he could feel it. They had spent 2 nights in the same room. No fights, no talking, just two strangers sharing space and silence. The pillow he'd placed between them was still there. But something had changed. That morning, Jace got up early. He walked to the side panel near the wall, alien tech that worked like a kitchen. He tapped a few glowing symbols. Nothing. He sighed. Can't even make toast, he muttered. Behind him, a voice said, "That's not a food unit, it's a shower controller." He turned. Zelari stood behind him, still in her sleepwear, thin, silver fabric not meant for warmth. Her eyes were tired but calm. "Good morning," he said. She nodded, then walked past him. "There's a real food unit in the corner. It only responds to my voice." He raised an eyebrow. "Why that?" "Because this room is mine. You're just an addition." That hurt, but Jace didn't show it. "Right, just the contract guy." She looked at him for a moment. Something flashed in her eyes, regret. But she didn't say anything. Later that day, they were both called to the Hall of Bonds. It was a tradition. Newly bonded pairs had to be checked for emotional harmony. A machine scanned their thoughts, their heart rates, even their eye contact. Jace hated every second of it. The alien elder looked at the screen and frowned. "There is tension," he said. "Doubt, distance, you have not touched minds." "We don't need to," Zelari snapped. "You do," the elder replied. "To complete the bond fully, you must share your thoughts, even just once." Jace blinked. "What does that mean?" The elder smiled gently. "You must both open your minds, let each other in, just for a moment, let the soul see the soul." Jace looked at Zelari. She was staring at the wall, jaw tight. "Is that dangerous?" he asked. The elder didn't answer. Zelari spoke first. "For me, it is." That night back in their room, Jace sat cross-legged on the bed. "Why is it dangerous for you?" he asked softly. Zelari sat across from him. She looked tired and more real than ever. "Because I was trained to block others out," she said. "Since childhood, emotion is weakness in my family, especially for females, especially for me. But if we don't share thoughts, the bond stays incomplete." "And maybe that's safer," she whispered. Jace was quiet. Then he asked the question he'd been holding back. "Why did you stay when I fainted during the ritual?" She looked at him sharply. "What? You said they told you to leave, but you stayed. Why?" Zelari's face changed. Her cold expression cracked just a little. "Because," she looked away. "Because you reached for me when you were falling. You didn't even know me, but your hand reached for mine." She stood quickly, as if angry at her own words. "Forget it." "No," Jace said, standing too. "Don't shut me out, not tonight." A pause. Then he stepped closer. "Let's do it, the mind-sharing, just for 1 minute." She hesitated. "You'll see things you're not ready for. And you'll see mine." They stood face to face. She raised her hand, he raised his. Their fingers touched. A soft pulse. Then a flash. Suddenly, Jace wasn't in the room anymore. He saw a cold chamber, a girl crying behind a glass wall, guards shouting, her back glowing with pain as metallic wings were pulled out, forced to grow. He saw Zelari, young, terrified, alone. Then he saw her older, training, fighting, building walls inside her mind, smiling only when others were not watching, hiding the truth even from herself. He gasped. At the same time, Zelari saw something too. A small house on Earth, a mother's funeral, a boy sitting alone in a dark room holding a family contract with shaking hands. "I don't want to marry anyone," his young voice whispered. "I just want someone to care." The connection broke. They both stumbled back. Zelari was breathing hard, her hands were shaking. "You saw it?" she asked. "Yeah," Jace said. "I saw you." She looked up at him. Her eyes were different now, no longer sharp, no longer cold. Just tired and open. "I'm sorry," she said, "for everything." He gave her a soft smile. It's okay, we're just two strangers, remember? Not anymore, she said. And that night, for the first time, she took the pillow off the bed. And didn't put it back. Secrets beneath her skin. It was past midnight when Jace woke up. Something felt wrong. The air in the room was strange, warm but heavy, like it was full of static. A soft humming noise echoed across the walls, like a quiet song being played far away. Jace sat up slowly. The bed beside him was empty. "Zelari," he whispered. No answer. Then he saw it, a soft light coming from the other side of the room. The large mirror wall had slid open, revealing a hidden space he hadn't noticed before. A secret room. And Zelari was inside. She didn't know he was watching. Her back was turned. Her long silver hair flowed down her spine, but it wasn't hiding the truth anymore. Something was happening to her skin. It was glowing, lines of light spreading across her body like veins of fire. And then, slowly, her back opened. Not bleeding. Not broken. But shifting. From inside her, a pair of wings began to unfold. Thin, transparent, and beautiful, like glass mixed with light. They shimmered as they moved, humming softly with every breath she took. Jace gasped quietly. These weren't normal wings. They were living energy. Zelari suddenly froze. She turned her head, eyes wide. She had heard him. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said. I didn't mean to spy," Jace said quickly. "I just woke up and—" "Leave," she said, her voice sharp, but it was shaking. He didn't move. "Please," she whispered this time. Jace slowly stepped into the glowing room. "You don't have to hide anymore." She looked at him with pain in her eyes. "Yes, I do." "Why?" Zelari closed her eyes. The wings behind her began to fade, folding back into her skin like they were never there. She sank to the floor, her hands covering her face. "Because if they find out, they'll take me, cut them off, lock me away. I'm not supposed to have them." "But they're a part of you." She looked up at him. "They're part of something I was never meant to be, a bloodline thought to be extinct. My mother hid me, trained me to suppress it. That's why she made the contract with your family, to protect me." Jace's mind raced. So that was the truth. This marriage wasn't about debt or peace. It was about hiding her. "They made it look like we owed you," he said slowly. "But really, it was your family that needed protection." Zelari nodded. "If anyone finds out what I am, they'll use me, or destroy me." "And what about now?" Jace asked. "Now that I've seen it." "Now you're in danger too." They sat in silence for a while. Then Jace said something she didn't expect. "They're beautiful, you know, your wings." Zelari turned her head. "You're not afraid." "A little," he admitted, "but not of you, just of what this means." She smiled, a small, broken smile. "You're strange, human. So are you, alien." They both laughed. Later that night, back in the main room, Zelari opened a small box from her drawer. Inside was an old necklace, black crystal with silver writing on the edge. She held it out to Jace. "This belonged to my mother. It's called a soul charm. When someone wears it, their emotions are shared with the person they trust most." "You're giving this to me." She nodded. "If you wear it, I'll know if you're scared, or angry, or lying, and you'll feel the same from me." Jace stared at the necklace for a moment. "This is a lot." "I know," she whispered, "but if we're going to survive this together, I want to trust you." He slowly took the charm and put it around his neck. A soft warmth spread through his chest. Then, for the first time, he felt it. Not a voice. Not words. Just a quiet sadness. It was coming from her. "You feel it?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "You're lonely." She nodded once, eyes shining. "Not anymore," she said softly. But outside their room, someone was watching. A figure in the shadows, cloaked, silent. He touched a device on his wrist and whispered into it. "The girl is awakening, and the human knows, send the order, no more delays." A lie that could break everything. Jace couldn't sleep. The soul charm around his neck pulsed with a soft, quiet warmth. It was like a heartbeat, hers, not his. Every now and then it flickered with sadness or fear. Something was bothering her. And now something was bothering him, too. He had started reading the original family contract, not the short version, the real one hidden inside the archives of Zelari's family library. He got in using her access code. He shouldn't have, but he did, and what he found made his hands shake. Upon full bonding, and after the first cycle is complete, the human mate will be disposed of, quietly, as planned. Disposed of. Like trash. Like a tool that had served its purpose. Jay stared at the glowing words on the screen. His heart thudded hard in his chest. "This can't be real," he whispered. But it was signed, sealed, stamped with both bloodlines. The contract was a trap. That evening, he didn't speak much. He sat across from Zelari at the round table in their room while she ate some glowing fruit and tried to act normal. She noticed. "You're quiet," she said. He looked up at her. "Just tired." But the soul charm pulsed sharply. She felt the lie. Her eyes narrowed, she set the fruit down. "You found something, didn't you?" He froze. "What are you hiding, Jace?" He didn't answer. So she stood. Walked over to him. "Look at me." He looked into her eyes. He hated what he was about to say, but the truth was already between them, burning through the charm, twisting in their chests. "There's a hidden clause in the contract," he said finally. "It says after we complete the bond, I'm supposed to die." Her expression shattered. "What?" "It's in your family's copy, I saw it." She shook her head. No, I never saw that, I swear." "But someone planned it," he said, voice tight. "They planned to use me to complete the bond and then get rid of me, like I'm just a piece of a puzzle." Zelari's hands were trembling. "My mother made that deal," she whispered. "I trusted her, I thought she was protecting me." "Maybe she was," Jay said, "but she wasn't protecting me." For a long time, they said nothing. Just the sound of their breathing, the quiet hum of the lights. Then Zelari reached up and removed the soul charm from her neck. She held it in her hands. Then slowly she placed it down between them. "I won't hide anymore," she said. "You deserve the truth." "Do you still want this bond?" he asked. She looked into his eyes, tears gathering. "I didn't want it in the beginning," she said, "but now I do, I want you. Even if it means going against your family. Especially if it means that." That night she told him everything. About her mother's fear. About the prophecy that said Zelari's wings would return their bloodline to power if she bonded with a human of Earth. That human was Jace. But the prophecy also said the bond must burn to awaken the fire. Her mother believed the fire meant war. So they planned to kill Jace before it could happen. "But they were wrong," Zelari whispered. "The bond isn't a weapon, it's a choice, and I'm choosing you." Jace reached out and held her hand. "Then we'll fight this, together." But outside their door, the trap was already moving. The cloaked figure from before returned. This time he didn't just watch. He pressed his hand to the wall. The seal broke. The door slid open with a soft hiss. And behind him stood two elite guards. Silent. Armed. Ready. "Run, bonded souls, run." The room went dark. Then came the sound, hissing metal. Jace turned his head just as the main door slid open, without Zelari's voice code. "That's not right," he whispered. Three cloaked figures stepped inside. Behind them, two tall guards in black armor followed. Their eyes glowed red. Their weapons were already raised. Zelari stood quickly, no fear on her face. Just anger. "This is my room. You have no right to enter." The lead figure stepped forward. His hood fell back. It was her cousin, Verx. Tall, pale, with the same silver-blue skin, but his eyes were cruel. "You broke the terms," he said coldly. "You told the human you formed a bond without full permission. You dishonored the house." "The contract is sealed," Zelari shouted. "You have no right to undo it now." "The contract can be cleansed," Verx said, "by blood." His eyes turned to Jace. "Only one life is required to protect the secret." Jace took a step back, his chest tightened. He had no weapon, No armor, nothing. He was just human. Run, Zalari said without looking at him. I'm not leaving you, he replied. Her eyes glowed now, soft blue light burning hotter. I said run, and then the air shattered. Her wings burst out from her back in a storm of light, sharp, crystal-like edges slicing through the air. The guards raised their guns, too slow. She moved like fire. One guard flew across the room. The second was thrown into the wall, armor sparking. Verx cursed and backed away. But more footsteps came, reinforcements. We can't stay here, Jace shouted. Zalari turned to him, wings still glowing. Follow me. They ran. Through the glowing halls of the skyhouse, alarms started to scream. Red lights flashed above their heads. Doors closed behind them as Zalari waved her hand over control panels, locking the path. Jace was breathing hard. Where are we going? To the shuttle bay, she said. There's a ship hidden there. My mother prepared it in case I ever had to flee. She knew this could happen. She hoped it wouldn't, but she feared it would. They reached the lower corridor. A massive steel door blocked the path. Zalari touched the panel. It blinked red. Locked. They've sealed it from the inside, she said. Then we're trapped, Jace whispered. She looked at him, her wings slowly folded back. Her breath was shaky. No, she said, I won't lose you. And I won't let you fight alone. Footsteps came closer. Verx's voice echoed down the hall. You can't run forever, cousin. Your blood belongs to the house. And you're human. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Zalari closed her eyes. Hold my hand, she whispered. Jace grabbed her hand without hesitation. Whatever you're about to do, I trust you. She smiled sadly. You might not after this. She raised her hand. A symbol glowed on her palm, the ancient crest of her hidden bloodline. The metal door exploded outward, melting into sparks. Behind it, a small black shuttle blinked to life. But the blast had taken something from her. She stumbled. Jace caught her. You okay? I'll heal later, she said. Get in. They jumped into the ship. The moment Jace sat in the pilot chair, Zalari pressed a crystal key into the controls. The engine screamed to life. They'll shoot us down, he said. Not if I cloak us first. She pressed her hand to the console. The ship shimmered and vanished. Back in the hallway, Verx ran forward as the ship roared away, invisible to all sensors. He slammed his fist against the wall. Find them, he growled. I don't care what it costs, that human dies and the girl comes home, in chains. Inside the ship, Zalari leaned back in her seat, breathing hard. Jace looked at her, his chest full of a strange, tight feeling. She had fought for him. She had run for him. She had chosen him over everything. Why'd you really do it? He asked softly. She turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. Because when you touched my hand the first time, I felt warm, like I wasn't alone anymore. Jace reached over and held her hand again. You're not. And for the first time since they bonded, she let herself cry. Not because she was weak, but because she had finally found something worth risking everything for. A new bond, a new beginning. The ship shook violently. Warning lights blinked red across the panels. Zalari gripped the edge of her seat, sweat running down her face. Jace was slumped against the side wall, his shirt soaked in blood. Hold on, Jace, she whispered. Please. A blast had hit them just before they escaped orbit. One of Verx's last missiles. And Jace had thrown himself in front of her. You weren't supposed to protect me, she said, her voice breaking. That was my job. She crawled to him. His eyes were open but unfocused, pale, weak. The soul charm around his neck had dimmed. Still here, he mumbled. You shouldn't be, she whispered. She placed her hand on his chest. Her fingers trembled. The bond between them, part emotional, part biological, was still active. But fatting, her wings began to glow faintly behind her back, not from power this time. From grief. There's a way to save him, a voice echoed in her mind, her mother's old words. But it comes with a price. Once you choose him, the bond will become permanent, unbreakable, forever. She looked at Jace. He was still breathing, but just barely. If she let him go, he would die. If she chose the final bond, her soul would be linked to his for life. No more politics, no more power, no more throne. Just him. Zelari, he whispered, barely awake. You don't have to. She pressed her forehead to his. Yes, I do. Her wings folded around them both like a glowing cocoon. She pressed her hand to his heart, her other hand to hers. Then she whispered in her native tongue. Let the bond burn and become light. The ship filled with white fire. But it didn't burn. It healed. The soul charm snapped, shattering into dust. A new mark glowed across both their chests, two symbols shaped like one, bound in light. Jace gasped. His eyes flew open. And for a moment, he couldn't speak. Not because of pain, but because of her. She was glowing like a star, her face soft, eyes full of love and fear and hope all at once. You chose me, he said. She nodded. I always would. Later, the ship landed on a quiet moon outside the main star lanes, a place with no cities, no armies, no watchers. Just silence, just safety, and each other. They built a life day by day, simple, real, free from rules. They still fought sometimes, still teased, still had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But they had something they never had before. Peace. Back on Zelari's homeworld, Verk stood before the High Council. She's gone, he said bitterly, and she bonded with the human completely. We can't undo it now. One of the elders leaned forward. Then let her go. Verk stared in shock. What? The bond is sealed. The prophecy is fulfilled. She is no longer our weapon. She is her own. But she escaped and made a choice, the kind of choice that makes legends. Far away, on a quiet night, Jace and Zelari sat together under a foreign sky. He looked up at the stars. If someone told me a year ago I'd marry an alien, be hunted across galaxies, and fall in love in the middle of it. You'd think they were insane, she asked. He smiled. Yeah, but I'm glad I was crazy enough to say yes. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm glad you reached for my hand. They sat in silence. Two souls. One bond. A contract written in the stars, rewritten by love. The end.